Speaker. I associate with many of the very passionate comments that we have heard already this afternoon, Mr. Speaker. And there have been many thousands of moving and heartfelt tributes from across the world. Our Queen was loved, cherished, respected and admired for her deep devotion to public service and to the people. And of course we meet in circumstances that we all knew would happen one day, but of course none of us wanted to see. And Mr. Speaker, it was so poignant yesterday that the heavens opened and cried with the country as the devastating news broke that this period of national mourning began. For most of us, if not all in this chamber, and of course people across the country and the Commonwealth and across the world, not only knew our Queen as the head of state, one sovereign, a lady, one monarch. And the late Queen Elizabeth II's life was one that, of course, was dedicated to public service, but was deeply, deeply inspiring. And, of course, she held that dignified presence, that ability, the charisma that this House has heard so much of already this morning, to lead our nation through dark periods, but also through the most joyous moments that we have celebrated as a country. And, of course, from the horrors in the world wars to the fears of the pandemic, she was one who never, ever faltered in her duty. And, of course, as my right honourable friend has already said, she was that rock. But she was there as that model of assurance, that pillar that would give us the strength and support that we would need through the darkest times. But of course, Mr. Speaker, for each and every one of us and for all of our constituents in particular, a royal visit was one of the most joyous moments and occasions that we would all celebrate. They were wonderful, they were memorable, they were great events, and in particular when the visitor, of course, was Her Majesty the Queen. And a few months after my election to Parliament in 2010, I, of course, witnessed that excitement when Her Majesty the Queen visited that very famous village of Tiptree in the Witham constituency, where the Royal Warrant told in Wilkin & Sons jam makers to mark their 125th anniversary. The affection and warmth that was shown towards Her Majesty, of course, was astonishing to see. Not astonishing to see, I should say. And, of course, Queen Elizabeth reciprocated, where she touched everyone's hearts, taking the time to see everyone, to speak to everyone as well. Also, when including the famous inspections of the world-famous jams, including the production lines of the Christmas puddings that so many people in this House in particular have recently enjoyed. And, of course, despite those huge undertakings year after year, each and every person that she touched felt special. And that was a tremendous mark of her own humility. And that day, now nearly 12 years ago, remains fresh in the minds of my constituents, who are mourning, sadly, with the entire nation today. And of course, it's not just royal visits that marked Her Majesty and gave us all that moment of excitement to have seen Her Majesty the Queen. For those of us that enjoy horses and enjoy racing in particular, she herself was well known across not just the country, but also around the world for her love and passion of horses. Whether it was the famous visits to Ascot or Epsom, the Derby itself, all of those who attended wanted to just snip that moment with her, to get that glimmer, hoping to get that royal wave, or a recent famous racing tip as well. And of course, no one did more to champion horse racing in this country than the late Queen. She loved the sport, she loved her horses, and in return, the whole racing industry loved her and will miss her enormously. Her late Majesty led a remarkable life, Mr. Speaker, and delivered an era and reign that will stand out as being the most magnificent in the long and great history of our nation. As we mourn the end of her 70th year reign, we commemorate the great life that she lived and, of course, the long service, the distinguished service that she gave to our country. We reflect on the importance of the monarch in our public life, of course, and at this particular time, a moment in time, our thoughts and prayer are naturally with her family. And we offer our wholehearted support and, of course, our commitment to the King, King Charles III. In the years ahead, while we face, of course, while the faces on our notes and coins and stamps will, of course, change, Her late Majesty will always occupy a special place and an affectionate in the hearts of our nation. God rest her soul, and God save the King.
Dame Margaret Beckett,